The wooden crate slammed shut behind him, darkness swallowing Pastor Nikolai Panchchuk. Cold seeped through his thin prison clothes, and the rough straw beneath him offered little comfort. His body ached from sitting curled up for days, but worse than the pain was the quiet reminder that he had been punished again for refusing to work on the Sabbath. Every beat of the harsh Siberian wind against the prison walls echoed like the guards' laughter. How was it possible that he, a simple man of faith, could be expected to survive such relentless cruelty? Let's rewind a bit. In the 1950s, under the Soviet Union, worshiping God wasn't just frowned upon, it could land you in a labor camp. Churches were shut down, pastors arrested, and believers ridiculed. Saturday was just another workday, but for those who honored the biblical seventh-day Sabbath, refusing to labor meant risking everything. Nikolai was one of those believers. A gentle, soft-spoken pastor in Ukraine, he quietly led 11 house churches, teaching his small congregations to trust God no matter the cost. When the secret police questioned him, he refused to give up the names of his fellow Christians. His faith, calm and steadfast, made him a target. Eventually, the authorities had enough. Nikolai was arrested, torn from his family, and sent to a frozen Siberian labor camp. The smell of snow and smoke from the campfires greeted him as he stepped off the train, his legs numb from the journey. The officers tried immediately to crush his spirit. Each Saturday, Nikolai refused the work demanded of him. Guards beat him, shoved him into a tiny crate, left him with barely enough water, no food, and freezing winds cutting through the cracks. 10 days at a time, for over 100 Saturdays, he endured this torture, relying on whispered prayers and soft hymns to keep his mind alive. But Nikolai's faith was unshakable. "God is with me in this box," he would whisper. Even as some of the prisoners, and occasionally a sympathetic guard, began to respect him. And then, after 2 grueling years, the tide began to change. A higher-ranking officer inspected the camp and, seeing Nikolai's weekly punishment, immediately ordered him released from the crate. Relief was fleeting, though. Nikolai was given a nearly impossible task. He was ordered to haul heavy barrels of water from several miles away into the camp. There was no running water available in the camp, so a man would be assigned the job to bring the weekly water supply into the camp. Nikolai would have Sunday to Friday to get this task completed. If he completed the task in 6 days, which was essentially seen as impossible because no one had ever managed to accomplish this, he would be given Saturday off work and be allowed to worship as he pleased. However, if he did not accomplish the job in 6 days, he would be forced to work on his Sabbath. The water hauling job had been done by multiple men in the camp over the years and had always taken 7 full days to accomplish. This assignment was impossible, and everyone knew it. It was meant to break Nikolai. So Nikolai accepted the task, not that he had much choice in the matter, and he was given an old wooden cart and a partner to help him with the water collection. His partner was an aging ox named Maxim. This ox moved slowly, very slowly. The first few days were brutal. Nikolai felt the bite of the cold Siberian air, the rough straps of the cart chafing his hands, and Maxim moving slowly as he tried to coax the heavy barrels up the icy hills. His muscles ached, his fingers stiffened, and he began to wonder if they could finish in time. The other prisoners shook their heads, muttering, "It's impossible." Even the guard seemed certain the stubborn preacher and his slow ox would fail, forcing him to work on the Saturday. Then Friday arrived, the 6th day of the week. Nikolai, worn and exhausted, whispered a prayer as he patted Maxim's neck. "Let's do our best today." And something remarkable happened. The ox seemed to understand the urgency, moving with strength and determination like no one had ever seen. Barrel after barrel, uphill after icy hill, they worked tirelessly. By sundown, every drop of water needed for the week had been delivered. The guards were speechless, the other prisoners amazed. Saturday came. Nikolai did not have to work. Maxim refused to move and refused to work, standing calmly as the guards shouted and cracked whips. The prisoners quietly laughed, witnessing a living miracle. The faithful obedience of one man and one ox had turned the impossible into reality. Week after week, the pattern repeated: 6 days of intense labor, Friday's extraordinary effort, and a Sabbath fully honored. This miracle did more than supply water, it changed hearts. Guards began to treat Nikolai with respect. Prisoners whispered stories of faith, and even the stubborn old ox, Maxim, became a symbol of God's power in the camp. For years, Nikolai endured, never once compromising his beliefs, and through it all, he demonstrated a profound truth. Faithfulness to God carries its own rewards, often in ways the world cannot comprehend. Eventually, Nikolai was released, battered but unbroken. He returned home to his family, his story spreading through secret gatherings, inspiring countless believers. Maxim, the ox, continued his weekly pattern even without Nikolai's guidance. That ox worked hard 6 days a week, but every Saturday he refused to do anything, silently reminding all who saw him that God's power is greater than any human authority. The story of Nikolai, Panchchuk, and Maxim isn't really about suffering or even an ox. It's about faith, about courage, about trusting God in the darkest places. Even behind barbed wire and human cruelty, obedience and faith can lead to miracles. Some small, some astonishing, but always undeniable. And for Nikolai, week after week, God proved faithful, one Saturday at a time.